Hey, what's up, guys? This is Pastor Dane Johansson from Agros Reformed Baptist Church. I figured today that we'd come over to Associate Pastor Taylor DeSoto's house and film a little bit about his library, kind of interview him about his books and his theology, talk about why he has the books that he has, and maybe some of his favorites. I know that a lot of people who subscribe to this channel or watch this channel are book nerds, and we are fellow book nerds. We've already done a tour of my library, my study, where you can see all the books in the back of where we do our podcast. So all those books, those are mine. So I figured we'd do a follow-up of Pastor Taylor's library, and he can kind of tell us more about it. So anyway, hopefully he has some time for us today to come in and do this. So I hope you guys enjoy. Oh, it's our deacon.
Hey.
This is Nicholas.
Welcome. Oh, I probably should have answered my own door.
Oops.
Oops. I'm just giving my service.
So Taylor.
Yeah.
Do you want to show us around your library? I'm here to do that. So.
Yeah, here it is. This is it. There's some books here.
There are indeed books.
You're welcome. There's about at least 10 or 12, give or take, on that shelf.
So walk us through this. Where do you want to start? You want to start your desk?
Sure. Yeah.
This is freakishly organized.
Yes. So on my screen here, I've got my Logos open. That's where the majority of my commentaries and Bible tools are. So if you notice, in my library, there aren't a lot of commentaries. So I keep most of my commentaries in online format, in electronic format.
It's a good way to do it when you need space.
Yeah, right. So obviously,
they're usually the easiest to access.
This is my study/living room. So when you have to use the space for multiple purposes.
Why do you have a deacon lifting weights in your office?
That's a good question. He's just trying to stay ripped and healthy for his upcoming wedding. So
True. Yeah, his fiance is somewhere around here.
Yeah. So
anyway, you were saying about how when you have little space.
Yeah. So this is actually a cool little tip if you're like me and you've got basically 4 shelves and you don't have a whole lot of real estate. Keeping your commentary space, which they can span. One commentary can take this much room, that much room.
Yeah.
And so if
I've got 2 whole shelves just on Romans.
Right. Yeah, the Romans rows. So I have commentaries down there. We'll get to them in a second. But mostly these are just books that I want and I value to have in hard print and hard copy.
Right.
So anything that I want to use, that I want to have a Control F on or be able to search, is in my Logos or in PDF or Kindle or something like that. So every book here there's a reason that it's on the shelf. I don't waste any space in my library.
Yeah, amen. Well, do you kind of want to walk us through? I know a lot of people have a system. I don't know if you necessarily have a system, but
yeah. So let's start over here.
Sure.
So on this shelf here, this is what I call my Heresy Shelf, but it's more so my research shelf. So this is like Bart Ehrman, Elaine Pagels. That's all sorts of apocryphal literature from the early church, and then you have Mormon books. So I do a lot of ministry to the Mormon church.
Living out here in Gilbert, yeah.
Yeah, specifically missionaries, and so those printings are actually the pre-1960s, so they're before they did any of the revisions.
Wow.
So those are pretty valuable. Those my friend from Salt Lake actually sent those over to me,
wow.
As well as history of the church, the full set down there, and then I've also got. This is pretty valuable, but this is, where does it say that? Dane's got this as well, but this. If you ever see Pastor Jeff Durbin out on the street evangelizing, this is what he has in his hand.
Yeah.
So that's really valuable, and it allows you, when you're doing the test of a false prophet, things like that, to just open it up and say, well, here, this is where they said that.
Right.
And then we have some D&D and World of Warcraft lore, Settlers of Catan, an N64, a baseball mitt, some Marvel comics.
This is where you do most of your studying at a show.
Yeah, so that's really takes up the majority of my time.
Let's you had hair here.
Yeah, marriage will do that to you. And then this shelf right here, so you have psalters, hymnals, you have really various assortments of literature. I mean, you have literally the late great Planet Earth next to Kurt Vonnegut. So there's not really any system, but you see, I mean, over there, there's just kind of various assortment of books. Some John Piper on there. You have
Warfield.
Some stuff on Warfield, and then some eschatology. And then underneath there, that again, just kind of random. You have apologetics. You have the gospel. You have some Ian Murray, the Diary of David Brainerd, One Nation Under Gods, which is really good history of the cults and Mormonism. And some James White on the right over there, Forgotten Trinity, Potter's Freedom.
Some Washer. You got Washer's set.
Yep. Some Paul Washer, his 3 set volumes there. And so this shelf over here, the best part of the shelf really is up here. So this is kind of my bread and butter. This is who I spend the most time in. So right now I'm in Turretin, and my plan is just kind of to work through Turretin this year.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to probably spend some time in Aquinas. And I've heard that these are probably not the best translations of Aquinas, but it's enough to dip my feet into.
Right.
Richard Moeller, this is just a classic, and this is amazing.
Post-Reformation, Reformed Dogmatics.
Mm-hmm. And then this is actually who I spent the last year and a half with, was Bob Inc.
Let me see one of those volumes that you did spend the most time in.
Probably this one, maybe. I don't know.
Well, you read the abridged version by Bolt, like cover to cover.
Yeah, so I interacted with this volume pretty heavily. You can see, I mean, there's just pretty well used. People might call that. And then, so on top of like interacting with the individual volumes, this is
This is what you did for your pastoral course.
Yeah.
Ordination course.
And this is pretty every single page.
Right. Yeah, you wrote a pretty extensive thesis on his covenant of grace.
Yep. So Bob Inc. is a friend. Hopefully a lifetime friend. I when I'm sad, I read Bob Inc. And then of course the Battles copy of Calvin. So
don't you also have his abridged French edition that he did himself?
Yes, I do, and that's in Laura's library because it's Laura's.
Oh, okay.
So my wife, when I was courting her, was doing a Calvin's Institutes class at her church. So
oh wow,
definitely.
But that made you feel good.
Yeah, I hadn't even read Calvin at that point, so yeah, she really. And then behind here, this is kind of the secret library, but this is the Journal of Discourses, the full. I think it's 27 volumes. This Mormon presidents and or their apostles or whatever, all of their sermons and everything. So there's a lot of valuable stuff in here. Although the Mormon Church typically will say that this stuff is not canon, they won't. Right. It's not necessarily authoritative, but it is. They do believe that. So let's move on over here. This is basically all Spurgeon, right here, and then some Puritan paperbacks. And then up here you can see here's just some short stories that our Deacon Nicholas is letting me read, and Stonewall Jackson. This biography by Dabney on Stonewall Jackson, so I'm really excited to get into that. The reason I actually bought that was because Dane's been looking into it forever, and I bought it so that
it's very easily purchasable online, but I've been searching in used bookstores. I found it once in paperback, and I left it behind. So ever since then, I've been spending years and years going around looking for it when I could just purchase it online.
So for his birthday, I bought it for myself.
Perfect.
Then up here, so a little known fact about me, I cannot resist a set. So I'll walk into a used bookstore and I will almost buy a whole set, even if it's useless.
It is absolutely true.
And I love them. So my goal for this, I want to buy all the Harvard classics, this particular printing of them. And then I have John Donne poems, and then the Pilgrim's Progress in a really nice edition, leather bound.
Emerson, American Historical Documents.
That's actually important. If you're an American, you should probably have read some American history, which you don't learn in public school, by the way.
Over here on top, we have some Thomas Manton sermons. Yeah,
so here, this is kind of pastoral books. Then, like sermons, and this one's got stuck in there. I don't know why that's there.
History of Calvinism. That's an important one.
It's a good book, but it doesn't belong there. Wordsmithy by Wilson. So a lot of this. So what ended up happening? This shelf used to be all pastoral ministry, And we'll get over there. I moved most of it over to that side.
Okay.
So this is like half of what used to be there, and then I have Calvinism, Covenant Theology, Predestination by Botner. And this one's actually pretty cool because it's got an advertisement for Calvin on the back of it. You used to be able to purchase it for $150 for the whole set.
That's pretty good.
Oops, that's not good. Oh, they put a little, okay. Nice.
There you go.
Treat it well.
And then you have both editions of Gurnal.
Yeah, so I have both editions of Christian in Complete Armor.
One is an abridgment, and the other one's a full one.
And the 3 volumes are nice because the full volume is hard to read sometimes because it's just so big, it's so bulky. And then that shelf right there is the underrated shelf because that's all my systematic theologies, that second shelf down.
Yep.
So that one right there, let me go turn off the AC real quick. Hopefully. This is our very stoic deacon. Not like philosophically stoic, but he was just looking very stoic there. So that shelf is all my systematics for the most part.
And some people might have noticed that you either don't have book sleeves or you don't have them all on, and that's pretty offensive to me personally.
This is the graveyard for book sleeves.
That's unacceptable. How dare you?
So
yeah, this is like a pick your own dust jacket kind of deal, huh?
Yeah.
You know, when we went through our canon series, you did mention that basically saying that we have the books of the canon, but not don't know the content is essentially just like having these. Yep. So that was kind of cool.
Yep, so this is a good example. Right, like Reformed preaching. I have Reformed preaching right here in my hand.
And we would even go so far as to talk about that kind of being the same thing as modern textual criticism.
Yeah. So if you don't know the words inside of a book, you don't have a book.
Yep.
So this is all systematic theology. Kirsten, we've praised Kirsten more than enough on this channel. But this is actually
Biblical Doctrines by Warfield.
Yeah, Biblical Doctrines by Warfield. This is actually fun. This story here. So I was strapped for cash and I needed some solid literature, and so I got Holiness by. This is not J.C. Ryle. It's some Anglican minister that looks like
stretched.
He's really wide. So this is what happens when you get self-published books, and then same with this one. It's all the content is here. You know, the content is here. And so I actually have not replaced Holiness by J.C. Ryle, but I did get Boyce officially because it was on sale. And I haven't really dipped into this copy. I've actually taught a little series on that copy before, but this one is pretty much read.
And Dag is on that shelf, or is he somewhere else?
No, I've been looking for Dag for a while.
Because you're it's on the. That's not Dag. That's a guy.
We'd have to really search for Dag. He's in here.
Because you're taking one of our members through Dag right now.
Yeah, I'll have to look for Dag. He's somewhere around here. I promise. We'll find him. He's a little elusive sometimes, so we'll get to him. I think he might be over there.
This is your systematics, and they kind of spill over to down here, or?
Yeah, that bottom shelf.
There's Naselli.
Yeah, Naselli's next to Grudem, because I value them both about equally. And then you have Our Program by Kuyper, which is a really good read. And then so you have Ethics, kind of Christian ethics is right there. And then Baptism in the Early Church. I honestly really haven't read that a whole bunch, but I don't know if it's really valuable.
You have 2 editions of the Post-Reformation Dogmatics.
I do. You gave me that one.
You know what's funny? This is actually Pastor Gary Johnson's originally. He gave it to me, yeah.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
A Premier Warfield scholar.
4-volume set, so. Yeah, those ones are, and then a little bit of Karl Barth, a little book. I was talking to the Logos salesperson. They kept calling Karl Barth. Which was really encouraging to me because it's always a good thing when people don't know about him. So
yes.
And then right there you have Rushdoony, the full 3-volume set of Biblical Law, Institutes of Biblical Law.
Why do you have these?
I bought them when I was studying theonomy, and then I realized that
because they're actually pretty hard to find.
Yeah, they're pretty hard to find. At least that copy. You can get the new ones that are really expensive. But the Institutes of Biblical Law right there, I got them because I was trying to understand theonomy, and I was going to read them, but then I realized that no theonomists have actually read them. So
that's true.
So I'll get to those someday. I've dipped into that and his commentary on Deuteronomy. He's actually got some good stuff to say, but I don't think his followers really understand him all that well. That one's actually interesting because Ian Murray doesn't usually write biographies on people that are living.
Right.
So that's actually kind of a cool little volume. Oh, here's Dag.
Oh, yeah.
He was hanging out with John Flavel. So this one, I'm just taking... This one's kind of cool volume to have if someone were to find it, because it's got little questions, like a study guide in the margins and stuff, so...
So when you die and I sell all your books to half price, you'll...
Yeah. We'll just give them to half price. They're not worth it. And then this is... so this year I decided...
that's a banner set of Flavel, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I decided to pick someone to hang out with, a Puritan to hang out with this year, and John Flavel fit the bill. Haven't spent any time with him, neglected him. Charnock was last year, so I spent some time with Stephen Charnock. This is before I was writing in my margins, really.
Yeah.
But that one was really, really valuable, especially on theology proper. You need to know that. The economy of the covenants. So I have covenant up here, covenant down here, and then church history with Needham. So.
And you're actually taking the church through that right now.
And I'm actually teaching through that set. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And then now down there, that's Bibles mostly, and the Passion Translation, which is not a Bible. And then Basics of Biblical Greek by Mounts, and then another Greek tool, and then Matthew Henry's commentary. I'm basically like hanging onto that just in case someone wants it. Keep trying to give it away to people who are like, no, I can get it online for free. I'm like,
I mean, the print is pretty ridiculous on that. It's a nice Smithsonian binding, but it's... If you strap for cash and you want Henry, wow.
I don't see the problem with that.
You want it?
That could be mine, actually.
No, it's mine. I brought it from Pennsylvania.
He just said he wants it. This is proof. You didn't actually want to give it away. What is this?
Some piece of paper.
How much did you pay for it?
These books.
This is your ordination certificate.
Yeah.
Awesome. Funny story, Nicholas actually and I signed that, and it took us quite a few tries on other pieces of paper to make sure we could sign it correctly and look nice. And he and I both did our work signature on that one. So
then the last shelf I've got here is, you've got pastoral ministry, catechisms, some stuff on family worship, preaching, and then Greek testaments. So you have the majority text, you have the UBS 5, this is actually a diglot, and ESV NA28, and then this is my goatskin bound NA28.
shout out to
John Kite.
Yep.
And then I've got some Latin tools here, some Latin textbooks, Greek commentary right here, Greek flashcards. This is actually kind of cool. This is a little diglot. We're not sure exactly what printing of the TR this is because it's got some interesting readings, but it's got some it's a cool artifact. And then book on prayer. This is all text, canon stuff. This is my father-in-law's dissertation. I'm decided to get into that. I'm actually about finished with Holy War. I wanted to read it before I read his commentary on it. And then down there is all commentaries.
That's awesome.
And then up here, the last little thing, this is like 20th century philosophy. And then math textbook, which is really kind of interesting. This textbook was given to 8th graders, and there's no way an 8th grader could take this textbook and do anything with it today.
Once I started adding letters in, I was out.
Yeah. So this is actually really cool. The reason I bought it was to kind of like I'm going to do a study to how much school has degraded, and then John Dewey.
So you have all your Dewey and
Dewey, philosophy, school.
Downgrade stuff.
Now let's talk a little bit about my desk. Okay, I've been left a love letter. I love that. So we'll go over here first. So this is what I call my on deck shelf. So this is what's on deck. This is what I'm reading daily. So I keep, this was right here. So I, do my daily reading. This is what I'm doing with Greek. So this is beginners, readers, grammar for New Testament Greek. Then Athanase, and then New Testament Greek for beginners by Machen. And then I've got the Machen study guide underneath it. And then here's my Bible, and then a notebook, and then this is kind of what I'm reading this week. And then here is all my notebooks. So I can just reach over and grab my notebooks.
These are all, studies you've done and...
Well, we'll get into that in a sec. But the last thing, this is like...
This is where you film
This is where I do
Christ
my
and Culture.
Christ and Cultures right here. And this is my diglot that I'm making by hand.
Yeah, show us that. That's
copying
awesome.
the New Testament.
Let me see a page of that. Hold on. So that's literally just the TR, right?
Yeah, this is TR with English. But it's literal. It's interlinear, so it's not like any English translation. It's like, and they were going out. Behold, they brought to him a man dumb, possessed by a demon. So it's like a literal. It's literal. And then I'm on chapter 10. I got to chapter 10 yesterday.
Pretty impressive.
So Matthew chapter 10. It's 71 handwritten pages.
Wow.
And then I always keep paper and everything. So this is my organization system. As you can see, I'm freakishly organized. Keep everything really has a place at my desk.
Deccan
Nicholas. And then I have a light right here. So that's my reading light. Very valuable. It changes colors and stuff. And then let's go over to here. So the one thing that I think is really important, especially if you're in ministry, is just stay organized. So this is every certain notes on every sermon that Dane has preached, notes on everything I've taught.
These are your manuscripts and everything?
Those are all my manuscripts for everything that I've taught. So men's studies, sermons, church history, canon, text, Greek, apologetics, popery, Old Testament survey, systematic theology, covenant theology, church history.
Wow.
So that's all there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this one is it just kind of gets really tiny.
Actually, yeah. I'm surprised that it expanded when you pulled it out.
Pretty dope. So that's my library. It's definitely not as big as Dane's, but everything in here serves a purpose.
Right. That's the most important part.
Right. That was one thing that when I started building my library, that I told Dane, I said, one of my goals is to build a library that has a lot of purpose. I don't want a lot of wasted space. So even some of the books that are over here that are don't contain orthodox teachings by any regard, have a research purpose, and so that's what that shelf is reserved for, and that shelf has grown over the years. Honestly, it started this big, and now it's a shelf, and so yeah. How much of this have I read? A lot.
Yeah, you actually have.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Except for Spurgeon, I've neglected Spurgeon. I really do. Really, I have a lot of Spurgeon I need to dig into.
Yep.
A lot of Spurgeon I need to dig into.
Best thing is you get the distillation of just solid Puritan theology, and it's really readable.
Yeah.
So you can burn through a ton of Puritan theology really quick, technically.
Yeah. The stuff that I've read of Spurgeon has just been amazing. Lectures to my students, that's been good. And then so that's kind of it for my library.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us around. And
yeah,
it's a good question to ask. Would be, what do you think? So what you've studied so far of your books? What is one favorite book that you've studied personally? Mm-hmm. And what are a couple recommended books if somebody wants to get into the pastoral ministry? What would you recommend?
Pastoral ministry specifically.
Yeah.
There's only one book, first of all, that you need to read. So before you do anything, you need to read The Christian Ministry by Charles Bridges. And that'll let you know really.
There we go. Yep.
And that really will tell you if you have an internal call. And as you can see, there's not a single page on this volume that I haven't.
Yeah, it's the same way mine is. It's terrifying, encouraging, rich, deep. And
then I even have notes, references to page numbers. So that one start out first one. And so if you read the Christian Ministry and you're still sitting there and you're like, yeah, I think that I should be a pastor, then the next thing you should do is probably read either this one, Holiness by J.C. Ryle.
Maybe get the one where he's not stretched out.
Yeah, maybe get a real one. Nicholas loves this particular copy.
What do you have to say about it, Nick?
It's round.
It's round. It really is.
Or The Christian Incomplete Armor by William Grinnell.
Awesome.
And then lastly, if you've made it through those 2 books and you're like, okay, I still think I should be a pastor, it's tough.
Put yourself through a systematic.
Well, I was trying to
That'll
think,
really show
I'm
you.
trying to think which systematic though.
Yeah.
Burkoff, easily Burkoff.
Burkoff,
Yeah, Burkoff. So this particular probably the
Well,
one
you haven't
with
read Gill yet. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Gill's in the mail.
Gill's in the mail on the way. But I've read a bit of Burkoff. Read all of Bavinck. So, yeah, Burkoff. Start with Burkoff. Get some ground under you. So that's what I recommend. Yeah, if you think that God is calling you to be a pastor, read those 3 books, and then if you still feel that you have a call to be a pastor after reading, and those books should only take you maybe a year.
Yep.
If you can't make it through those books in a year, then you probably should reconsider
Because the pastoral ministry is a lot of reading for the rest of your life.
Right. So yes. So for example, this shelf right here, if this amount of books is something that you cannot read in 2 years or 3 years, you probably need to reconsider. So that would be something too. My last thing is like if you're going to consider yourself for the ministry and you think that you have an internal call, something that is always in every single pastoral ministry book worth its salt is that you need to be able to have a focus. You need to be able to study. You need to be able to consume content and produce teaching. And that's what it means that an elder should be able to teach, is that you can learn.
Yes.
Right? So, that's not the exclusive meaning, but in order to teach, you have to learn. You have to be able to consume content. So if even this amount of books, if you're looking at this amount of books and you're kind of like, wow, that's a lot of books, but I want to be a pastor, you should really, really dig deep, read the Christian Ministry, read Christian in Complete Armor, and read Burkoff, and get through them in a year and a half, and that should really tell you all you need to know about yourself, I think.
Amen. Well, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoy this.
Yeah.
This was Pastor Taylor DeSoto's library. So, all right, guys, say bye-bye to Deacon.
Thanks for watching, guys.
And Pastor.
God bless.
God bless.